another question that people want to know is who was involved here? Because Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and was sitting in jail until he died over charges of sex trafficking. These crimes allegedly involved minors. Ghislaine Maxwell, his accomplice, is still sitting in jail right now for sex trafficking crimes, sex crimes related to minors. And so I think a big question that people have is if they were operating really this global sex trafficking ring, who else was involved aside from them? And where is the justice? Where are they going to get in trouble? I mean, the one question you had in the New York Times is who were the clients implicated in Mr. Epstein's sex trafficking operation? How are we going to get answers to that?
Well, that is, of course, at the top of the list in terms of what the public really wants to know. And we know from the evidence logs that there was the contents of more than 40 computers that Jeffrey Epstein had across all of his homes and in his office in the Virgin Islands. And what's the content of those computers? Are there databases in terms of, they may not necessarily be a client list with a list of names of men that Jeffrey Epstein put out some of his victims to, but I would think that we could generate a list of questionable individuals who not only Jeffrey Epstein associated with, but may have actually taken part in the sex trafficking. And I am interested in looking into the files of trying to understand what the FBI did in terms of trying to corroborate the accounts of several victims who referenced other men. This goes beyond his chief accuser, Virginia Giuffre, who said that she had been trafficked to Prince Andrew, a member of the royal family. Andrew, of course, has denied any wrongdoing. He's denied even knowing or meeting Virginia Giuffre, even though there's a photo that shows them together. He was sued by her, and he paid an out-of-court settlement to her of many millions of dollars. I want to know what the FBI did, and is this included in the files that would show what actions they took to look into the allegations and claims made by the various victims. Did they put any of these men under surveillance? Did they attempt to contact them? Did they look into their phone records or emails? It's extremely important to understand that this case goes back to when the Palm Beach police first alerted the FBI after their initial investigation in 2006, and the FBI came in and did an initial investigation, and we're going to file 50 counts of charges against Jeffrey Epstein. And then, of course, as the American public knows, Alexandra Acosta, who was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District in Florida, hammered out a non-prosecution agreement with Jeffrey Epstein's lawyers. And so Jeffrey Epstein only had to plead guilty to two state charges of prostitution and prostitution of solicitation of a minor, in which he received only a sentence of 18 months in jail. And in fact, he only served 13 months in the county lockup. And during a lot of that time, he was allowed out on work release. So it's been called a slap on the wrist sentence. And Jeffrey Epstein dismissed it afterwards and said, what I did is no worse than stealing a bagel. But the FBI continued their investigation, particularly after the Miami Herald published its Perversion of Justice series on him, and the details of that sweetheart deal that took place in 2008. And so they interviewed new victims, or they interviewed victims for the first time that they had not spoken to before. We need to see those documents. We need to see, I'm completely fine with the redaction of the victims' names. I'm even fine with the redaction of third-party names. But I would like to see the specifics of the investigation that we could learn from the Epstein FBI files that could tell us the various moves that the FBI made or maybe didn't make. And if they didn't make those moves, there's some explaining to do. Did they receive additional pressure from high up not to investigate certain people? We know that victims have named politicians in the US. They've named individual, politicians from other countries. They've named people in the science community in America. Very important people had been named by these victims in terms of taking part in this sex trafficking. And I want to know what the FBI did or didn't do to investigate these men.